I'm Dr. Benjamin F. Chavis, Jr., President and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. And today, as part of our conference that's jointly being produced by the NNPA and Zenger News, we have a special panel to deal with the intersection of data and technology and what are the opportunities for African-American owned businesses to take advantage of some of the opportunities in the data space and the technology space. And I couldn't think of a better group to lead this panel than the Black Data Associates. And of course, the president in DC of the Black Data Processing Associates is none other than Perry Carter. Perry Carter, I've known him for many years. I've been to some of the conferences that the Black Data Processing Associates have done across the country. And, you know, I think that I've always been impressed, Perry, with what your organization has been able to do. And kind of, quite frankly, it broadened my perspective. I really didn't realize there were so many brothers and sisters in the tech space who are not only, you know, working there, but leading it, innovating it, being champions of it. And so, Perry, I'm going to stay with you through the panel, but I'm going to let you introduce the other panelists more formally, and then we can get right into the heart. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Perry Carter.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. Thank you very much. We appreciate everyone for this particular conference. Very exciting about it. And I have two of our rock stars here with us today. And as you alluded to, Dr. Chavis, there are tens of thousands of people like our rock stars today on the panel that have been in the industry almost since they discovered it as kids. But we didn't call it tech back then. So with me today, I have Ms. Tina Williams and I have Mr. Raymond Bell Jr. And each of them will actually, they'll talk about their programs, their history, how they got into the industry, but most importantly, along the lines of the Tech Conference 2021, we want to make sure that we adhere to the importance of data and the tech innovations that are actually here with us in 2021. And as we, as BDPA, as we head into 2025, 2025 will be our 50th anniversary. So hopefully the takeaway is we would like all of the organizations, technology organizations, STEM organizations, and news organizations that support Black and Brown members in the business space, as well as our communities, to really enjoy and embrace where we're headed. It's an exciting journey. And as I tell our young men and women, it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry where billion-dollar programs are available. And that acronym is BDPA. So without further ado, Tina, please kick us off, introduce yourself and about your programs and your support, and then we'll follow with Mr. Raymond Bell Jr.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the introduction. And again, Dr. Chavis, thanks for having me. So I am Tina Williams Croma. I'm founder and CEO of T-Secure LLC, which is a cybersecurity services and solutions company that's based in Maryland. So I've been in the tech field for probably about 19 years now. I started out as a software developer and then pivoted into cybersecurity. So from the perspective of what T-Secure does now, we focus a lot on really helping and positioning our clients from a cybersecurity posture perspective. There's certainly a lot of data that goes into informing how we make recommendations to our clients and our customers so that they're positioned to secure their mission and objectives. The services that we offer are largely categorized in security architecture and engineering, software assurance, vulnerability, threat, and risk assessments, consulting, training, and then for our defense customers in particular, we have a focus on program security and counterintelligence type of work. And again, data is of course paramount there when you talk about supporting that type of mission. So I have largely been focused on services over the past 7 years with T-Secure, but have recently also branched off to product companies based upon the needs that I see from our customers. There are some products and solutions that I saw needing in the marketplace. Again, one deals with artificial intelligence and machine learning, where data is used to train that technology. That's something that we just recently received some funding for. So we'll be working with the university to develop that prototype. And then also another is a training platform intended and focused on increasing the cyber acumen of non-cyber and non-tech professionals so that they can be effective in their business. So that's a bit about me. Certainly looking forward to participating on this panel. Thank you.
And next we have Mr. Raymond Bell Jr. of Hope Project DMV.
Yeah, so I'm Raymond Bell. I'm the founder and CEO of Hope Project. And Dr. Taylor, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to have this platform to share. I'm incredibly impressed with what Tina just shared. What we've been doing since 2009 at Hope Project is training, coaching, and mentoring primarily young adults in Washington, D.C. for careers in information technology. So the folks that are listening today, they're going to be happy to know that since then, we've helped over 2,000 young people, most of them non-degree, build careers in information technology. We know how well everybody does financially in IT. Everybody has a big salaries. So our students average about $65,000 a year. We have about a little over 50 people that make six figures. And if you add the overtime, you're probably talking to about 100, 125 that make six figures. 40% of those 2,000 people have some kind of government clearance, from a public trust all the way to a top secret with a polygraph. So no one's impressed by IT professional salary. It's how fast our students have gotten there, and more importantly, where they come from. These are not the kids that are graduating from Morehouse and Spelman. These are the kids that left high school, schools like in DCPS, DC public schools like Anacostia and Ballou and Dunbar, and they found their way to our front door, and we help train, coach, and mentor them into careers in IT. And I keep saying train, coach, and mentoring because when you have a young kid who is just bear with me for a second when I share this, you guys. Just imagine a kid growing up in inner city, been ducking bullets their whole life. They're 21, 22 years old, raised by a single mom in a neighborhood like Woodland or Berry Farms in Southeast DC. You go to DC public schools. If you show up, you're going to graduate. If you show up, you're going to graduate. Regardless of how well you did in the classroom, you're going to get a high school diploma. And it's almost criminal to know that we got kids graduate from high school that come to me and take our reading and math test, and they just got out of school in May, and here it is August or September, and they're reading and math scores of seventh grade. That's to me, that's criminal, but it's happening over and over and over again. But those are the kids that we're working with. That is the lemonade that we're making out of the so-called lemons. So keep in mind, their competition for a job is someone that did go to Spelman and did go to Morehouse and have two-parent household that can write that $200,000 check for their education, and they have 4 years to prepare. My students get 3 months with me, 3 months on an internship with a very small budget, but the expectation is that our kids, when they go and apply for a job at CACI or Northrop Grumman for entry-level help desk position at the Pentagon, the other person that's interviewing is probably those kids that are graduating with degrees in information technology. And our students have really done well with that competition, as well as other people who are applying for those jobs. I'm really, really proud of them. So that's why I'm always known for celebrating their success, because in my world, in my opinion, them leaving a DCPS and in 3.5, 4 years, building a career as a systems admin or network administrator, to me, that's just as impressive as someone going to a 4-year institution and managing a 3.0 for those 4 years. It may even be a little bit tougher based on the circumstances. So I'm proud of them. I'm proud of what we built. And then I just wanted to say this one other thing, that we can definitely move on. Our company is threefold. We do training, obviously, for young adults. We also do consulting for other organizations to help them become a Hope Project machine, not just putting an instructor in the classroom with a book and then getting mad when the students don't do well and then blame them, but really helping them build, maintain, and grow. And the thing that I'm probably the most proud of right now is that we really started to put some attention around our staffing agency. I'm sure Tina can appreciate this, because we got 2,000 graduates. And for the last, since 2009, that's over 10 years, we've been handing that talent, Tina and Dr. Chavis and Perry Cott and everybody that's listening, over to the Robert Halves, the Insight Globals, the Tech Systems, the Kelly Services, the Apex, all these staffing agencies, and a lot of the government contractors. They literally call me on the phone or send me emails, say, hey, Bill, we just landed a new contract. Can you send me over some resumes? We got to staff 5 positions. And oh, by the way, they need to have a CompTIA A+ and a Security Plus certification and need to already have their secret clearance. I can look in our database and send 10 resumes in 5 minutes. And for years, we never charged them. The robber halves charge 20% of whatever a person's salary is. I know we get into the economics now, but I think this is important. Most of them charge anywhere from 10 to 15. Robber half charges 20. For years, we never asked for any compensation for turning over our talent. So me and the students got together at one of our like little meet and greets, and we took out a napkin and started writing it down. I said, let's just say, for example, out of the 2,000 people, they were like, Bill, all of us have had at least 3 or 4 jobs by now. Let's just say we all had 2 jobs, and it's 2,000 of us. That's 4,000 jobs at 10% of our salary, not 20, just 10% of our salary. And we all know the average salary is about $60,000. You do the math on 60,000 times 10% times 2,000 people. That's the kind of revenue we were giving away that could have been in our program, in our community, and we could be using that to hire more people and just further develop our talent. So I'm excited to know that that's one of the directions that we're taking the organization in 2021. I'll shut up now.
Those are very exciting stories. Now, Dr. Chavis and Tina, one of the things that, and Ray's always humble, we get along very well, and, we hang out at IHOP for our strategy meetings. But one of the things that I think that is now, we are basically blending what he just alluded to, is that we're now providing scholarships to HBCU graduates, recent graduates, and rising seniors, STEM seniors, so that they can actually have the ITF Plus, A Plus, Network Plus, and for those capable of the Security Plus certifications with their degree, so that that helps broaden the talent pool for not only industry writ large, but the defense industrial base. As Ray alluded to, we're trying to get young men and women to get their security clearances early because we can clear them faster.
Yes.
And Tina, if you don't mind, share with us some of the opportunities that you have. When I say you, the defense industry, that you've noticed that these young men and women can move into either as entrepreneurs. And for those on the call, we're still looking at the importance of, how these young men and women can protect data, as well as the innovations that you see coming down the pike.
And Perry, after Tina answers your question, I want you to share with the audience what the national organization does, BDPA, because a lot of people around the country, again, are not aware, as they should be aware, of how African Americans are in the data and technology space. So I want you to just give a highlight of what overall, not only you're doing in DC, but what the national organization does. And I want Tina and Raymond both to also give out their websites. So when people want information about your businesses, about your enterprises, and you too, Perry, I know you're the president, but you need to talk about also what you do as president of BDPA.
Yes, sir.
To better inform our people, because, the scripture says people perish for the lack of knowledge, the lack of wisdom. And the whole purpose of this conference is to give out the information and to point people in the right direction so they can have access to these career channels that all of you are highlighting. I think it can be so transformative. And I'm glad you mentioned that it's intergenerational. No matter what your age, no matter what your education, there's an opportunity right now in 2021 for you in the technology space.
Yes, sir, definitely.
Yeah, so thanks so much for that, Raymond. Gosh, that sounds exciting. And you're right, those are the numbers. So I definitely, myself as a business owner, will be getting your contact information. And if you can provide that kind of talent with clearance and et cetera in this area, I'm all ears and ready to receive, because certainly you're spot on with the rates of pay and the challenge in finding the right talent. So with regard to the opportunities that are available in the tech space, I in particular know a lot about the cybersecurity space, which is, I think, just a really booming area. Right now, as business owners or even large companies, There's a great need for continuing to secure the defense mission. So if we talk about just from a military perspective, or even for other branches of government, cybersecurity and technology and understanding technology is so paramount. There is not a mission that is underway that doesn't have some technology component. And the type of technology is changing from just even traditional IT. You also have categories of OT, operational technology. So that's where you're getting into some of your critical infrastructure, like your SCADA systems and other power systems and things like that, that are powering a lot of what we see day to day from a critical infrastructure perspective. So that even extends beyond defense government or civilian government and into the private sector. Additionally, you have a large focus on IoT. So we look at all the little gadgets that now can be connected to the internet. One piece of legislation that came out just late last year really focuses on IoT development, the amount of use that the military and government has on that. But then also the fact that there needs to be minimum standards of security for IoT. So when you think of security and technology, it's not just that data could be compromised, but when you start getting into IoT, you start talking about things that people could be having on their bodies to regulate their hearts, or you start talking about things that if compromised could have a physical impact, not just a data compromise, but a physical impact. Imagine if someone could hack into your wireless infusion pump that's given a certain amount of insulin, or hack into a pacemaker that is helping to regulate your heart. These are things, IoT, that are connected to the network. And if not properly secured, then they can be compromised and have physical, even life-threatening impacts. And so these are some of the technology areas that really need to be clearly understood before you can even properly secure technology. There needs to be a baseline understanding of it. And so there's a lot of opportunity for the type of brilliant minds that the Hope Project is working on and producing and putting in the marketplace. As it pertains to data, there's another discipline called like data science and getting into data analytics. Data and the value of data can't be emphasized enough. I've heard it quoted, and I've repeated the quote myself, just where the value of data exceeds that of gold and oil. If you can imagine what you can do when you have certain data and understand the story that data is telling, that's why this entire discipline around data science is one that is greatly blooming and blossoming. Again, there's so many different fields that are really trying to understand, okay, we have all this data, we've collected all of it. Now, what is it saying? Because when you can understand what it's saying, it can empower really strong decisions. So that's in finance, that's in governmental decisions, that's in any kind of business, et cetera. If you can have this data translated and understand the story of it and have it empowering your decisions, that's money, right? That's great positioning. So that's another opportunity. And specific to opportunities for entrepreneurship and to really launching out as, as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, with the cybersecurity maturity model being enforced and implemented, there are a lot of opportunities to become a trainer. So you could be a licensed training provider. You could be an assessor. So a cybersecurity assessor. These are jobs or positions that you can get these credentials and then be a 1099 to different companies that might require this type of need for CMMC. So there's a lot of opportunities to really start out, even if you want, like as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, and then get some experience and learn from there and building your own type of enterprise. But if you check out I think the website is cmmcab.org, you can see the various assessor and trainer type of opportunities for individuals who are interested in getting that credential for themselves and perhaps working with various organizations as a 1099 initially, and then building from there an enterprise or a broader organization. So there's a great opportunity there from a tech and cybersecurity perspective as an individual. So I'll pause there and I'll pass it back over to you, Perry, but certainly if there's any part of your question that I did not address, please do let me know.
Well, you know, and Dr. Chavis, you got to forgive us, but we're geeks and we love acronyms. So Miss Tina, if you don't mind, real quick, supervisory control and data acquisition. You mentioned SCADA. If you don't mind, just real quick, go over IoT, the Internet of Things, and SCADA. And then Ray, if you don't mind, and Dr. Chavis, I will answer your question about BDPA.
Yes, but I'm glad you mentioned acronyms because I'm sitting here taking notes. But you know what, Perry and Tina and Ray, well, we want you to, this is just not a one-time event. I would like to have a column in all of our newspapers across the country about data. Mm-hmm. And I would like for Black Data Processing Associates to provide that content to all of our newspapers, because this information that you're giving out today at Tech Conference 2021 is so vital, so important. I want to make sure that people not only listen to it, but engage with it, because I've listened very carefully to Tina's response and Ray's response and your response, Perry. I think it's invaluable information that you are sharing with our listeners and with the public at large. And that's why this Tech Conference 2021 is so important. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. So yeah, Tina, real quick, just go through SCADA, IoT, and then Ray will just dovetail on that and show exactly where everyone fits. And so Dr. Chavis answered the mail, as you mentioned, the programs that we have, how that all fits into the new innovations that we're talking about with respect to data.
Yeah, so just to take a step back, I'll start with kind of an umbrella notion with Internet of Things again. Traditionally, we've thought of those things being connected to the internet as perhaps just like a laptop or a desktop type of computer. And that's largely categorized in IT, information technology. But various businesses and organizations, critical infrastructure ones included, so like energy companies, that have these SCADA type systems, when you start thinking of how your energy is transmitted and delivered into your home, there's a lot of technology, typically that's been very proprietary in nature, that is used to produce that. But what these energy companies and other critical infrastructure sector companies are realizing is there's a great efficiency and an economies of scale that can be realized if you can leverage the power of the internet to get out certain information. So when I talk about data, getting certain reports or pulling certain data from some of these back-end proprietary systems and being able to crunch those numbers and that data and tell a story and get reports out to the owners, the operators, to customers, et cetera. We have smart meters a lot of times at our homes now, right? So we don't have to have someone physically coming out to our home and reading the meter, power meter at our home. But these smart meters, because the smart part of them means they're internet connected, right? So that means that work can be done remotely, so they can remotely read these meters. And that's something that is powered by being connected to the internet or the network. So these are just some examples of the things that are being connected to networks. When you think of drones or even traffic lights, or, you know, if we stay within the home, our doorbells, all of these things suddenly have remote connectivity. So you see the commercials where, hey, you don't have to be home to see who's at your door, right? You can have a camera set up and integrated with your doorbell, and you can, you know, see who's at your door and monitor it from there. So these are all things that are now connected to the internet. So it's an internet of things, not just of IT, where you have your traditional servers and, you know, workstations and things like that. And so the great opportunity is, one, as I indicated, is in understanding this technology, right? There's so many things that could be developed new things even. So there's entrepreneurial opportunities in that. But when you think about what's already there and what could be developed, it's just the proliferation of IoT is only expected to grow. If you can access it to do legitimate things, imagine what adversaries who could have an interest in your data or what the environment that your IoT is located in. If you can get into it, they could too, if it's not properly secured. So there's both an opportunity for innovation and efficiency, but there also needs to be a securing and applying security to that innovation. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
It does, because Dr. Chavis, as recently as just maybe a few days ago, the Oldsmar water treatment plant in Florida was hacked. So that's because you're dealing with legacy systems. And Mr. Bell, if you don't mind, the students that are working on the training that we have right now, they too are working with pretty much all sectors in industry, public sector, private sector, and academia, to prevent just that. Can you share with us how some of your students have successfully migrated from Network Plus, Security Plus into some of those roles? And even if those are in the energy sector, please share that with us.
Yeah, so as I talk, I'm going to always talk about the student success as it relates to business, but more importantly, just jobs and employment, because that's how people eat, that's how people survive, that's how people get a chance to even consider becoming an entrepreneur, because they have to fund it through probably employment.
Yep.
I'm a huge advocate for employment, even over certifications and training. So I would want folks to know that the Graduates from Hope Project, they are cyber engineers now, network administrators, systems admins. We have several, in fact, women graduates that are service desk managers. They're running operations of as many as like 30, 40 people. They're hiring them, firing them, they're training them, they're approving leave. They're in positions of power and influence. That's so exciting for someone who has two older sisters and was raised by a single mom. So I love it, love it. Some of our top graduates are people like Mercedes Schneider. She's a IT project manager over at FBI, and she runs the software development team, and she has a TS. And she's working McDonald's when she enrolled in the program. So that's the kind of folks that we've been developing over time, but they don't all start that way. So we thought the best.
Wait, can you repeat that, man? That story, somebody that started out at McDonald's,
he was enrolled,
is now running data and cybersecurity for the federal government.
Project manager with his I never asked what I'm gonna ask. I'm willing to bet her entire team is probably all men. There may be one or two women a part of her team, but she is a former worker at McDonald's, $7.25 an hour, shift manager. She is now a TS cleared IT project manager running. And that's not her first IT project manager position. Even she did something over at the Pentagon. She used to work for CACI some years back. And there's tons of stories like that. Dr. Chavis, I'm excited to see we're going to get a chance to come back, because I love to share some more of this, because these are the inspirational stories. And I'm really talking to those kids who may have flunked out of college, who may never have went, and assume this is not an opportunity for them, because they're not really, really good in math, because that's what they've been told. They're not really good in math. You don't know calculus and trigonometry. There's no way you're going to make it in IT. I'm talking to those young people, or not so young people, that are on this when we listen to this, and they have a background challenge, or they have some credit challenges because they lost a job, and people will tell them, well, if you have this, it's going to prevent you from building this career in IT. It's not true. I'm telling you, not from what I read on the internet. I've witnessed it. I've learned it. So what we decided to do was focus on three things when we started our training program. I needed to find a way to help people get to work quickly. Because I'm talking about the kids who, even during the summer youth program, their mom needs probably half of that 2-week check they're going to get. So 4 years in college is probably not going to work for them. They need to get to work quickly. So I need to find a career that I could train them in like 6 months or less. The second thing was I needed to have them make a good entry-level salary. So most young people are not going to put up with me, because I'm really, really demanding. I'm probably worse than a drill sergeant. I'm really, really demanding. No one's going to put up with me for $15 an hour. Nah, they won't put me for 17. They'll put up with me for 20 or 25 an hour right out of the classroom, and that's typically what they get. And third, and probably the most important thing is I needed to find a career where there were a lot of entry-level jobs available for people who didn't have a 4-year degree. So that's how we came up with IT help desk. So the service desk, the people that take the calls, like right now, especially because everyone's working from home, they can't log into the network, their CAT card, their RSA token isn't working, they got to have somebody to troubleshoot it, or they're having issues with their Outlook or Office 365. Our entry-level first out of class graduates, that's the kind of job they get. They do technical support, either over the phone or in person. But over the course of the years, as they go by, they start to make their way up the ladder to the sysadmin, network administrator, cybersecurity, and all those other fancy titles. But one thing I want to make sure that people know about what we've built, because so many people, when they find out about, like, why aren't more people doing this? It's not because we don't have smart people. It's not because the technology doesn't exist. You can't just care, you got to care a lot. And you got to have an unbelievable amount of patience. That's the one thing that separates us from the Goodwills, who's actually one of my clients when it comes to outcomes. You got to really be invested in a person's development to take them from Anacostia to the Pentagon working for CACI, and you only got 3 months. That's not an easy feat to accomplish. And we've done it time after time because of the system that we've built. I'm sure Tina can appreciate the word system when it comes to developing a person. So you build this system, then you can just plug people in, Dr. Chavis, where it doesn't matter if they're reading math scores at 8th or 9th grade, because your system will allow them to come in that way and still come out the other end and get an offer letter, for $45,000 or $50,000, like right out of the classroom. So those are some of the titles and stuff like that. And then when it comes to partnerships, you'll be surprised how willing people are to talk to you when you tell them you got access to 2,000 people that have certifications and clearance. They don't care what color they are. They don't care. The only color that they really care about is green. So when you start going to these big companies like CACI, GDIT, Northrop Grumman, and all the others, and they find out about Hope Project, they don't care where they went to school at. They don't care. Well, they want them to come from our program, of course, but they are more concerned about getting quality talent that can help their companies grow and maintain their level of success. So when I talk, I'm always talking to that young man or woman who just got out of high school, or they're hanging out on the corner, or they've assumed their life was going to be retail or fast food. When you guys hear me talk, I'm always talking to them. I love sharing this with you guys, but my objective is to reach that young man and woman that's standing on the corner who feels like they're never going to go anywhere beyond retail or fast food. So that's the kind of conversations that I'm going to always have, no matter what forum that I'm on. So if I'm getting off topic, just know that's the reason why, because I'm trying to hit a certain group of people. And then one last thing I think is important, Dr. Chavis, when it comes to the Black newspapers and Black media, we got to get the support and get IT integrated into more articles and more advertising. Here's why. I don't care what nobody says. I'm Raymond Bell. I'm the founder and CEO of arguably the most successful IT training program in the country, especially for young adults. The way that I talk, the way I connect with young people, I'm an African-American man, and I'm a role model for them. They're going to listen to me. So if we're putting the information in the Black newspapers and Black media, and young people are reading it, they're going to respect it, and they're going to believe in it, probably a lot more than the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or any other non-Black owned media outlets, because they're going to trust it. So
Yes.
as folks who listen to this, they got to understand the importance of getting that information into those kinds of magazines. Those young people all over the country, they need to know about me.
That's right.
If they know about me through the Black newspapers, it's going to carry weight. They can Google me and they can get me on the phone. They can't get Mark Zuckerberg. They can't get some of the other folks that they hear about and read about, the Elon Musk. They can't get them on the phone.
Well, we're going to make sure that people not only know who you are, but be able to communicate and engage with you. And like I say, I've seen one of the benefits already of Tech Conference 2021 is to have this illustrious panel. You're giving out great information. I'm making notes myself. Look, man, I got kids that definitely need to be re-engaged in the whole IT field, the whole data field, the cybersecurity field, all of the things that you've talked about. It's just nothing but opportunities. And again, I think one of the tragedies in life, my background is civil rights. I've been involved in the civil rights movement for over 60 years. And one of the things that always I'm concerned about, Ray and Tina and Perry, I've seen people live their whole lives and never get to an awareness of their own gifts and talents. You know, I think sometimes the worst thing in the world is for somebody to underestimate their own self-development, their own potential to grow, their own potential to learn, their own potential to do something. You know, back in the day, we were a race of doers. We were a race of achievers. We always were overcome the odds. And I don't want people to become complacent or comfortable with the absence of being in this economy. The American economy has been driven by data. It's been driven by technology. And I don't want that's one of the reasons why we're having this conference. And I thank Zenger News for joining with the NNPA to present it, because there's so many opportunities. So not only the people attending this conference, Ray is hearing what you're saying, we're going to make sure that this video is replicated, distributed into the, as Snoop Dogg would say, until the wheels run off. You know, we're going to make sure it gets everywhere, because the information that you're giving out is so valuable and timely, given the period of where our nation is today.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we need to pivot as African Americans when it comes to tech and start attracting the non-traditional IT person. So we all know that the retail industry is in trouble. We know hospitality. If you're in Washington, D.C., there's a hotel on every corner. All those people are out of work right now. There's chefs that make $90,000, $100,000 in some of these fancy restaurants downtown. They're unemployed just like everybody else. There's a unique opportunity right now to bring those folks in, to potentially have them come in and start a career in information technology. There's a place for them. There is exactly. And not just in DC, like all over the country. So I'm a big champion of us trying to connect with people who are the non-traditional IT person.
Very good. So Perry, now tell us about the National Black Data Processing Associates.
Sure. So Dr. Chavis, thanks again. And just FYI, I had a chance to attend the Million Man March, and we do have a picture on our in our, I would say, our Black History Month edition of BDPA Today.
Oh, very good.
With a few of us at that march.
1995, 25 years
yes,
ago,
sir,
October
absolutely.
the 16th, 1995.
Yes, sir. So to answer your question, we are farther along than one may believe. We stood up BDPA Today 15 years ago in 2007. This is our 15th year now, because mainstream media and, again, our own media, no one was covering Mr. Bells of the world, Miss Tina's of the world. There was no coverage about that, even the good stories. So we've even had the BDPA, the national organization, has since 1986, the National High School Computer Competition. All the major cities send hundreds of kids to the national conference, but no one has invited those kids to the White House. And people say, I've never heard of BDPA. Well, some of that is our fault, but again, since we represent marginalized communities and underserved communities, or that digital divide that people talk about, that digital divide cuts both ways, So going back to our roots, we were founded in 1975 as Black Data Processing Associates. Earl A. Pace Jr. and the late David Wimberly founded the organization in Philadelphia because Mr. Pace attended a workshop with industry, and it was about banking, because all the entrepreneurs back then were helping the banks process checks on the mainframe computers. And fast forward, we're still having those requirements as we speak today, because the IRS and the federal government, if they're going to drop $1 trillion into the hood, guess what? It runs through those same mainframe computers using a COBOL language and other languages that we had 20, 30 years ago. So that was the fulfillment that the entrepreneurs covered back in 1975. So now, fast forward, industry is about to make another pivot toward cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and other currencies there, which is data. And it's going to be used and leveraged worldwide. So BDPA's legacy, our largest chapters and our earlier chapters are co-located with all 12 Federal Reserve districts, Federal Reserve banks, including Washington, D.C. at the headquarters. And from that, we have 40 over 40 charter chapters throughout the country. So we would like to have and continue the dialogue to actually, how can we work together with all of black and brown newspapers in the country? And then of course, you and I was so glad you had a chance to come out to one of our award events.
I was very impressed. I was very impressed.
Yes, sir. And as Ray alluded to, with Mercedes, she was our first President Awards winner from his program. So she received her award at Bowie State University. So we are working with HBCUs. We have a support contract with different teams out of Wright Pat Air Force Base, supporting the Air Force Research Lab in their HBCU Collider program. The Hope Project, in partnership with BDPA DC here in Washington, just won a $300,000 grant from Microsoft. And we also received grants from Best Buy. And the latest grant we received from Best Buy is supporting our National Tablets for Teens program. And that allows kids in underserved communities, Title I schools to receive brand new laptops and hotspots where there are gaps. Some school districts and some communities still don't have the infrastructure to support remote education. But the mission of the organization, when it was founded, really hasn't changed since today. It was really designed to help the community learn more about careers in data processing. And that pretty much was it. And we declare victory on every young man and woman, every student who, like Mr. Bell alluded to and Tina alluded to, there's so many opportunities out there. If we get the messaging out through your newspapers, and you and I touched on this, we were looking at having a weekly tabloid modeled after Parade magazine. We just throw in a weekly technology tabloid. We make sure that big tech, the tech industry, ICT industries are fully funding these publications, not only in the cities, but all of the HBCUs have publications as well. So the publications, the radio stations and the television stations, we have tens of thousands of people of color in industry that already do this. So it's not like you don't have lack of content. I think we can work with you now. We have a new administration in the White House, so keep them honest, call them out. Those that aren't delivering and if those programs are not funded or the appropriations aren't there, I'm sure your team knows who to meet and greet.
Exactly. Just parenthetically, the Biden-Harris administration has put a premium on equity.
Yes.
And they've got Ambassador Susan Rice, who is the director of the White House Public Policy Council, but she's also sort of the czar on equity. And I'm going to talk to her about data, about Black data processing associates, because to me, you have the expertise, you have the experience, and hooking your expertise and experience with the right opportunities. I just think that what Ray shared and what Tina shared, I see this thing exponentially growing to the extent to which we continue to share this vital and timely information.
Yes, sir. And the takeaway, though, for your audience is that given our 45-year legacy and giving Mr. Bell's 11, 12-year legacy, we have a very rich alumni association. So we already have the mentors and leaders and role models already baked in. So it's not going to be a heavy lift for your team, Dr. Chavis.
Exactly. People were asking, well, how did his brother Robert Smith become a billionaire? He started out in data. He was an entrepreneur.
Yes, sir.
And I think that one of my former colleagues, Reginald F. Lewis, who was the first African-American billionaire, started TLC Beatrice, a publicly traded company. He was a lawyer on Wall Street, but he learned something about leveraging buyouts and information and data. Of course, this was back in the late 1980s and early 1990s. So we have so much to build upon. To me, we should learn from history. We don't have to repeat history, but we should learn from it. And one of the things we're learning today at Tech Conference 2021 is how important data and innovation and technologies are and the opportunities for the African-American community today.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And so what I'll do is, like I said, our website is bdpa.org. And then at the local level here in the greater Washington metropolitan area, it's bdpadc.org. And then for the publication, we have a publication that comes out every week. And also we have a monthly version. So the current version out right now is the February edition, the Black History edition. That has 60 stories of hidden figures. And the way we spell hidden figures, we add a $ sign at the end of that. So it's Hidden Figures.
Yes. Give
So
the
we have-
name of the publication, Perry.
Yes, BDPA Today, all one word.
Very good.
And that one has the website there is bdpatoday.com.
And Tina, how do people reach your company?
Yes, so tsecure.com is the website. So that's T as in Tina, C, it's for my middle name, Clarice, ECURE. So that's tsecure.com. And I also just want to mention one of the ventures that I pivoted off is a training platform. That's cyskills.com, CYSKILLS.com, cyskills.com. And one of the courses is a free course, and it's titled Becoming a Cybersecurity Professional. So I put together that course because I had a lot of individuals from our community and otherwise asking, well, how do I get into the cybersecurity field in particular? And I'd have the same conversation again. So, I said, you know what, let me just package this and put it into a free course that's accessible. And it just really walks you through the course. And it's something that individuals can take and see how they can pivot into the cyber field.
Very good. And Brother Ray, Raymond Bell, how do people get in touch with you?
So I love social media. So my social media handle is Ray Bell JR. I'm always sharing these inspiring stories of our graduates, of everyday people. And then our website is hopeprojectonline.com. Something I wanted to mention just real quick, like Tina just did, about some of the work that we're doing now. It has always been about community for me. So no matter how well my students are doing, I get a chance to watch young people become leaders and they end up leading other people. When we have when the world was before pre-COVID, we would have monthly happy hours. And that was my way of bringing all of our graduates together. So I could keep in touch with them, find out what certification they're working on or how their TS clearance is going and stuff like that. And then when they come to me and we had these little conversations, they were never talking about how well they were doing. They were saying stuff like, Mr. Bill, I brought 3 people on our help desk. Or, I just coached so-and-so to get that job over at the World Bank. Or I'm working with 2 people now that need their Security Plus certification. I'm doing once a Saturday, 2-hour sessions with them online. That to me, that is the most significant thing that we have built. We built a community. So we're taking it to the streets now. We're gonna have what's called a community service desk or help desk. We're gonna take our graduates and our current students, and they're gonna do technical support for nonprofit organizations that don't have an IT budget. So if they're trying to figure out how to develop their website or improve their social media presence, or they're all having trouble with getting familiar with Office 365 or need to get it set up, there's going to be a number they can call, and it's going to be manned by our graduates and the students that are in class now. And we hope that's something that we can turn into a model for other job training providers around the country, because there's so many nonprofits, small minority nonprofits. They could grow their organizations, and Tina knows this, so is Perry, I'm sure you do too, Dr. Chavis, and everybody listening. They could grow their organizations and do better with fundraising and probably land more contracts if they have better IT infrastructure. We want to help with that. This will all be free. It's going to be free and open to the public.
All right, give out your website again.
Sure. So if you go to hopeprojectonline.com, you can easily get to me, and I'm all over social media at Ray Bell JR. Please follow me. I promise to follow back.
Very good. So Perry, before I think we have a few minutes left, I would like to ask each of the panelists, and starting with you, Perry, this question. In 2021, what is your single greatest recommendation to the African American community in this February of 2021, Black History Month? From your experience, what is the most important thing that all of our listeners, all of our parents, all of our students, all of our young people, intergenerational, those who have jobs and those who don't have jobs, those who own companies, those who are thinking about owning a company, what's your number one recommendation? Perry, start with you.
So we've heard the saying, information is power or powerful. I would like to dovetail on that, and I would say it becomes powerful and information is power if it's shared. Because what I've found over the years is that if we share this information among each other, it might not help us immediately, but you'd be surprised the feedback that comes back once you share information. And that's pretty much been what we've done over the years. So I would say, Dr. Chavis, is that, the information that we share today, share it with somebody. And just make sure it gets out into the community, because as the community grows, so do we. And that crosses cultural boundaries, that crosses racial boundaries. Quite frankly, our society's been too greedy, and we just simply haven't shared. So I would start with that. I would just, share that information, because on all of our websites, we have information how to get companies started. We have success stories, like I said, in our publication, this month's issue. We have those success stories. And our conference this year is going to be August 12th through the 14th. It's going to be 100% virtual, so we don't have to travel. But if you share the information about who we are, what we do, where we've come from, and most importantly, where we're going. So if anybody's going to take the lead on tech in our community, it's going to be members of our organization, and it's going to be written about and shared in our publications, including yours, Dr. Chavis.
Very good. Thank you so much, Perry. Tina?
Yeah, so I think my number one would be what I've coined as this term is called owngineering. And it's taking a structured approach to owning your identity, your destiny, and your ventures. If you're not owning these, someone else is. So I'm really, really keen, starting on the identity part. You touched on history, Dr. Chavis. It's so important for us to really understand who we are and what our legacy is as African Americans. That's gotten lost. Unfortunately, we've been very miseducated. Very key points are left out of public school systems. We don't know who we are. We don't know the legacy that we're already building upon. And I think that it's so paramount. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. We have an entire long legacy of innovation and ownership and enterprising that goes way back to the Reconstruction period, et cetera, in this country. We've done it before, and we can do it again, but we have really got to own our identity, our destiny, and our ventures. That would be my number one that I would emphasize for everyone.
Very good. Thank you so much. Ray?
I always get choked up when I start talking around about the talk. I'm asking our community to give IT a chance, because I have graduates that have multiple felony convictions. They've still been able to get jobs. One of my students, he did 2 years in jail for armed robbery, but he has a public trust clearance. He works at NIH. Everybody told him there's no way you're gonna ever get a job in IT. You wasting your time going to Bell's program. They ain't gonna be able to help you. So I'm asking those folks that are working at Walmart right now, there's nothing wrong with working in Walmart or any retail, fast food, or any job, because it's a paycheck. I'm asking you to give IT a shot. Don't listen to them, because people are going to tell you that you've been out of school for 15 years. There's no way you're going to be able to catch up. You can barely use your cell phone, or you're not really good in math, and all these other, or you don't have a 4-year degree. It's all untrue, because I got a student that falls into every possible category you can name in terms of the non-traditional IT professional, and they're thriving. I'm just asking people to not let that little person talk them out of a potential career that can not only change their lives, but change their families' lives. And I always say we've helped 2,000 families. I need to stop. I always say we helped 2,000 students, but we really helped 2,000 families. When one of my students get an $80,000 job, there are a whole lot of people benefiting from that. The little brother who goes off to high school and now gets a fresh set of 4 or 5 pair of beige khakis and not the faded out ones. Or his big brother can help out for Christmas. I always share with new students, when I talk to them about the graduates like Mercedes and others, I always say, follow them on social media, and at Christmas time, check out their photos on Christmas. And then go back to the year before they got in Hope Project and look at December 25th and see the difference. And the people that they're seeing, these are people that are pouring into them. These are the graduates who no longer need my help. They've made it. But those are the ones that I see and everybody else sees the most often, pouring back into the community of new people. They're the mentors, they're the coaches, they're helping people offline. To me, that is so doggone rewarding. And if there's other training providers that are out there listening, or someone that wants to start a training provider, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to share anything that I have ever learned about this. I feel what we have done is very unique. If I had to start all over today, I don't think I could rebuild what we built. It has just been magical because of the people that we met, the students that have enrolled, people like me, like Perry and others. But there's still so many opportunities for people to do well in this world of IT. I just don't want people to talk themselves out of opportunity in it. There's a place for everybody in IT.
Everybody.
Thank you very much, Raymond Bell Jr., Tina Williams, and Prairie Carter. On behalf of the National Newspaper Publishers Association and Zenger News, thank you so much for enriching Tech Conference 2021. Your words and the information that you've shared, the examples that you have illuminated for all of us, we are very much inspired, and we thank each one of you so much for taking the time to be a part of Tech Conference 2021. And we definitely now, I have a list of things we're going to follow up with you on each of the recommendations that you've made. But again, thank you so much for your service. And above all, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis.